Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to our panel this morning. I know it's very early and the football game was there, but I hope we can get your attention for this very interesting topic. Our panel has the headline Growth Partners in Uzbekistan, MDB and ECA Financing Solutions. And before we get started, I just want to lift the mystery of what MDB and ECAs mean. And therefore, I kindly ask for the first presentation, please. So we just wait for a few slides. I think they're already organizing that. So yeah, I don't see the slides on screen. I just want to draw your attention here to the two boxes. So what does ECAs and MDBs mean? ECAs, that stands for Export Credit Agencies, and these are government-backed institutions, and they have as a primary objective to promote national trade of their home countries. MDBs, they are multilateral development banks, and their primary objective is to foster economic development in a country, so irrespective of where the equipment will come from. And I think this is an interesting discussion because on the one hand, these are different applications in funds. On the other hand, there's a lot of potential for cooperation. And this is on what we want to discuss over the next 80 to 90 minutes. To make ECA and MDB solutions work, you need banks to structure the transaction. And that is why it's an honor for me to moderate this panel today. My name is Katrin Eich, and I'm the Global Head of Structured Export and Agency Finance at Commerzbank. So Commerzbank is a large corporate bank in Europe, but we are also present here on the ground in Uzbekistan. We opened our office already in 1998. So in 2028, we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of us being here in the country. And since opening, we supported Uzbekistan's development also in difficult times, and therefore we are really happy to see how great Uzbekistan developed over time. And we maintain trusted relationship to all stakeholders here in the country, including our 14 correspondent banking relationships. One of them, NBU, also sits here on our panel. It was already in 2001 that we closed our first ECA transaction in Uzbekistan. At that time, that was with Euler Hermes. Thomas Baum is represented here on the panel, and many more followed after that. But we can do also many other ECAs and MDBs today. So we're not limited to Euler Hermes, but would like to serve you as our clients in Uzbekistan with, let's say, a global product offering. But now it's enough marketing on Commerzbank. Let's start the discussion. Over the next minutes, we will deep dive into these MDB and ECA solutions. But our goal of this panel is a real practical one. We want you to understand how these instruments work and what the bottlenecks are and what each stakeholder can do to unlock more financing for Uzbekistan. And this is, I would like to do so, and therefore I'm delighted to be joined here by four distinguished panelists. Please welcome me here on stage, Mr. Sadorbek Uzmanbekov. He is the first deputy chairman of the National Bank of Uzbekistan, representing the largest bank in the country and a key partner for international financings. Next to, it's Mr. Jaeyong Jin. He is head of Central Asia at MIGA. MIGA is the multilateral investment guarantee agency of the World Bank Group, and he is bringing the multilateral risk mitigation perspective to the panel, so the MDB one. I'm also pleased to welcome Mr. Thomas Baum. He is head of division underwriting and risk management at Euler Hermes, the German National Export Credit Agency. And finally, Mr. Pavlo Stergaard. He is deputy head MENA, Turkey and Central Asia at BPI France, the French National Export Credit Agency, with a strong strategic focus on Uzbekistan. Yeah, so when we look at Central Asia today, I think all eyes are on Uzbekistan. We heard a lot about it, and the country is undergoing the most profound and dynamic economic transformation in the region. It's really great to see on how this country has developed. And as the largest and one of the most important banks in the country, I would like to invite Mr. Uzmanbekov to start by setting the scene from the perspective of the National Bank of Uzbekistan. Mr. Uzmanbekov, how would you assess Uzbekistan's current growth path and the reforms in the context of its relevance for ECAs, multilateral development banks, and commercial banks like yours? Where do you see the strongest demand for such external financing, and how do you see the role of local banks in this context?
Good morning, distinguished colleagues. Good morning. First of all, I would like to highlight the path Uzbekistan has achieved over the short period of time, headed by His Excellency Shavkat Mirziyoyev. Over the 9 years, Uzbekistan made a breakthrough in terms of quantitative, qualitative indicators. Specifically, I would like to highlight very significant growth in GDP, which last year was 145 billion. And we started 9 years ago from 60 billion. Export over the last years increased to $33 billion. Gold reserves for the first time exceeded $60 billion in equivalent. And all the indicators speaks volumes that foreign investors receive a very good positive signal resulted from above reforms. I would like to mention very sound, meaningful number. Inflow of foreign investments. Last year, they reached $43 billion. For us, as an NBU, there's a lot behind the numbers. Specifically, we see the growth in GDP. However, our clients need specifically in the energy sector, in transportation, in logistic infrastructure, they implement large-scale projects which need long-term money in various currencies. There is a great demand in the internal market. However, we can't cover all the demand. Therefore, we enjoy great help and cooperation with distinguished ECAs, which represent various country contents and risks in Uzbekistan. Therefore, for us, cooperation with ECAs is a strategic choice. Also, we look at the country development from the ECA perspective. It's a very good way of getting feedback. For you, for ECAs, you look at not only the pace of reforms, but on the sustainability of reforms. And we continuously follow the reform path, reform course, and we are continuing the reforms. And every time the government, and headed by the president, is sending signals that reforms are irrevocable, irreversible, and sustainable. Over these years, our countries have achieved a lot. Primarily freely convertible currency. The country opened its currency markets, and we switched to market prices in the energy sector and launched privatization of the public sector. And as of today, we have very strong cases, very good success stories. Foreign capital enters our enterprises, our companies, and there are many large-scale infrastructural changes underway, both in industry and public sector. All the reforms gain their results, not in numerical terms, but also in terms of our rating. Last year, Uzbekistan's rating was improved up to BBB, with a very positive forecast in this year. And we've already realized that during the previous years, we issued bonds in London, and we have tangibly, materially realized that in terms of decreasing the costs through increasing the country's credit rating, we achieved the lower cost of the loan debt capital we attracted at the international money markets. And another important event which occurred this year, I think it's in a way a very good signal for the market, for Uzbekistan. It's an issue of sovereign national bonds with the total amount of $1 billion. And the price was established to 12.25 in national currency. So it gives additional inflow on national currency to our internal market from international investors. Investors have a great appetite for national currency soon. They continuously approach us and ask when we are going to launch our bonds denominated in national currency. It testifies a great interest in national currency backed up by national reforms. At present, the demand traditionally, in this transition time, there's a great demand on large infrastructure projects. Of course, there's a great demand in the power sector. Our country is dynamically growing. The population is also growing at a high rate. Therefore, it's vital to drastically improve generation capacities. We channel the funds to our power sector project development, both solar, wind, renewables, etc. At the same time, infrastructure plays a very critical role: water, utilities, urban sector. Industrial modernization in Navoyi mining combined, in Al-Malik mining combined, Navoyi uranium in chemical industry sector. We see that there's a great deal of demand for reforms, renovations, and modernizations of the sectors. And one of the key priorities set by our president is improvement of financial state of our people. There's a great demand for cheap and long financing for SMEs. This demand is a fact. It's a matter of fact. We understand that it exists, and it is backed by interests among our partners. Over the last year, EBRD channeled approximately $1 billion for upgrading and modernization of power sector projects. More than 60% of the funds was directed to solar and green energy projects. And speaking about adaptation of our local banks to international standards, the banking system is being fully transformed. Both governments, local banks are fully transiting, moving to international financial reporting standards. This process is underway. We're gradually implementing their strategies. In 2021, NBU, jointly with McKinsey, developed a large-scale transformation plan for the bank, which was first started in 25, and then we updated our strategy and extended it to 2030. The transformation to international financial reporting standards provides, firstly, transparency for our foreign partners. As of today, all our reporting, balance sheet statements are confirmed by international audit and consulting companies, rating companies. It helps us talk with our partners the same language, on the same level. We fully disclose our financial reporting, and we prove through our indicators that we are ready to undertake certain risks, and we see that all our endeavors augment and increase the demand on behalf of our partners, and they increase their limits as the average check or limit for our bank 7 to 8 years was approximately $100 million. Presently, the limit is several times higher. We also demonstrate the transformation through implementation of corporate governance. In our board, there are several independent members. We built totally new risk management vertical. We have fully implemented compliance and risk management policy, anti-money laundering policy. All the transformation is part of the banking reform set and guided by the governments. Thank you.
Was really setting the scene, and I think from a banking perspective, I can just confirm what Mr. Uzbekistan said. All the reforms which we have seen in the local banking sector really helped and created a great platform for international investors, for international banks, for the MDBs, for the ECAs, to increase limits and to enlarge, let's say, the product offering, which is nowadays needed in order to support the investments here in the country. As I said in the beginning, we want to now become a bit practical and showcase what ECA finance means in practice and MDB finance means in practice. And therefore, I would kindly invite Thomas from Euler Hermes. And for this, we need the next presentation, please. To explain a little bit what is Euler Hermes about. So Euler Hermes, we know it's a very active ECA in Uzbekistan, and as mentioned already, at least we as Commerzbank started our cooperation for Uzbekistan with Euler Hermes in 2001. So quite a long-standing partner in the country. So Thomas, could you please briefly describe your experience in the country and how your portfolio has evolved over the past years in terms of sectors and project types? And then kind of going over to your perspective on the main opportunities and challenges, what you see in respect of ECA finance experts from Germany to Uzbekistan. So can we kindly have the presentation?
All right. Here it goes. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here in Tashkent. It's a fantastic opportunity to present ECA financing options in this very prosperous and developing market. And here are my 3 slides for this morning, and I try to be sharp in order to get the discussion going among the panelists and maybe then later with you. So, Uzbekistan is a fantastic country, you know it all, but for us it's a fantastic country too. It's one of the few countries where, when you look at our coverage volume, the small chart in the middle, is continuously growing, which is real good news for many people. It's good news for the German exporters. It's good news for the Uzbek importers who have chosen good technology plus a financing option with ECA, and it's good for the banks who provide exactly these financings to Uzbek companies. Altogether, in the last 15 years, it's the period about from the reform, includes all the reform period, Hermes has made credit decisions worth of 2.7 billion, which is a fantastic figure, I must say. And when you look at the detailed chart, you see that there is a light blue and a dark blue portion in all of the columns. And the light blue is the most interesting, I think, for this panel, because it's the medium-long-term business of Euler Hermes. And it continuously grew from around 180 million to an amount of more than 300 million in 2024. Last year it was a bit less, but you can see a large dark blue column, which is basically also a capital investment project, but we have only covered it in short term, yet the financing may follow. So the experience, and Katrin mentioned it, the experience is extremely wide, because the German economy, the German industry is providing technologies for many sectors that we have just heard in the speech of my previous speaker, that ranges from the textile industry to the mineral industry, but also transportation and energy play a role in our book, and that's why we are having this wonderful experience from the past, and we are carrying leads forward to the next years and the next month to come. On the next slide, I was quickly summarizing the benefits that are applying to Hermes, but also to any other ECA. Basically, we are offering risk appetite. It is fantastic to see that the German government has no formal country limit written. We can look at any project that comes in all kinds of sizes, from the large infrastructure project down to a mid-sized or even small-sized SME transaction. We have seen transactions in the 1-digit million numbers, the 2-digit million numbers are very familiar to us, but also the larger transactions can be covered. The key feature, I think, that everyone needs to be aware of is the reducing of the financing costs through an ECA. ECAs provide to the banks the collateral they want and they need in order to provide competitive financing in euro and dollar predominantly. You've mentioned the local currency, probably a challenge for some of the Uzbek companies to take out a loan in foreign currency, but for many Uzbek companies it's still worth. Just take the example of textile industry. If they are export oriented, of course they have a continuous euro or dollar revenue flow and can of course afford to borrow in foreign currency. We offer long tenors, something you should not underrate. If we heard from NBU that they have increased limits and also increased tenors, the ECAs have always been the leader in tenors. So the last reform of the OECD 2 years ago basically allows us a standard loan tenor of 15 years, 1.5 plus the disbursement period. So door to door, it can be up to 18 years, depending on the kind of the project, when there is a construction period in front of it. So that means that you may have a real, reliable, long-term financing for your large capital project. Of course, we do offer even preferential terms for climate change and green projects. I don't want to go into detail here. Please contact me after the panel. And what I was going to highlight is on the bottom right. We are offering structuring expertise and transparent due diligence. What does it mean? It means that we are not just another headache-creating counterparty. We would like to become a partner of you together with the bank, hopefully working all the time in parallel, not creating double work and double efforts by anyone, but really getting a seamless offer over the counter from a German or an international bank with our cover. Here is a quick look at the process. I don't want to expand too much on it. My recommendation really is, if you look at the process from early contacts, when you have an idea for a project, down to the signing and the disbursement of the loan, you need to involve the ECA very quickly. My recommendation is select a bank to talk to, because the bank knows exactly the language we understand, and that will make your process very fluent, I hope. And this is maybe my opening statement. We come maybe in the second round a bit to challenges and the things that we like to offer more. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I can, from a bank's perspective, I can just echo what Thomas was saying. I think the process looks much more complex as it is, and since it's already a proven concept, proven over many years, I would dare to say decades. This is something I think which is one of the most used tools here in Uzbekistan to contribute to these growth aspirations the country has seen over the last years. Now I would like to bring in Cheong from MIGA, the multilateral part of the story, seeing on what a multilateral can bring to the table. So Cheong, it would be great if you can expand on, let's say, the contribution of MIGA as part of the World Bank Group to the growth here in Uzbekistan. And I also kindly ask for the slides for the MIGA part. Can we have? Super.
Okay. Thanks, Catherine. My name is Jae Young. I'm covering the Central Asia Asia business from the MIGA's perspective. I think I assume that many people may not be familiar with what MIGA is doing. So firstly, I will introduce what we are doing. The MIGA is part of the World Bank Group. We are a guarantee agency within the World Bank Group. And our mandate is to bring foreign direct investment into the country by providing to investors, lender who has a concern on the political risk. And also, 2 years ago, also the World Bank Group, we launched World Bank Group Guarantee Platform. It means that previously, World Bank Group, World Bank, IFC, and the MIGA, we have their own guarantee program separately. I think it made our client very confused. So 2 years ago, we decided that all World Bank Group Guarantee Platform will be under the MIGA's house. So now MIGA is a point of the contact for all the World Bank Group the guarantee product. Here in Uzbekistan, so far honestly, from the MIGA's perspective and also World Bank Group perspective, maybe before the 5 years ago, we did not have much exposure here. But for the last 5 years, our business is growing. I think many people may be aware that since World Bank provided a payment guarantee to facilitate the solar and the wind project here, I think we have a huge success to bring the foreign investors here. From MIGA, also now our exposure is close to the $1 billion, and we are seeing that more demand here. I think for the next few years, maybe we can issue every year, maybe we can issue more than 500 million here. So here, this is a very hot market for MIGA, and we are seeing that as ourselves, as not only as a guarantee provider, but also the long-term partner for Uzbekistan. When the country has a small economy, normally the country need very cheap concessional financing. But as Uzbekistan, your economy is growing and your financing needs is very expanded across several sectors, then what is important is to bring the private capital at scale. Otherwise, there is no way to find the right financing. This is where MIGA is coming. Our role is to bring private capital in long-term financing with cheaper pricing. So, but also to bring the private capital into the developing country, transparency and predictability in the system is very critical. Now we are seeing that Uzbekistan implementing several sector reform, and there is the good progress. And so MIGA is supporting Uzbekistan government development agenda. Also, we connect the government development priority into the global capital. As I have my slide, maybe I can introduce some MIGA product and some project example we supported in Uzbekistan. At the moment, we have three categories of the project. The first one is a political risk guarantee. This is a very traditional, very conventional our product. This product is applicable pure private sector or PPP transaction. Under this guarantee, we cover currency transfer and restriction, and expropriation, and the breach of contract, and the war and civil disturbance coverage. Second one is the credit guarantee. By using this credit guarantee, the government and the sovereign enterprise can enhance their credit profile, so bringing the international commercial banks in long term and with cheaper financing. I think in Uzbekistan, we can offer all three products, but I think at the moment, the second one, credit guarantee, is the most popular one for the investors. The last one is a relatively the new product for us. This is very similar to credit guarantee. Both credit guarantee and the trade finance guarantee can be applicable to public finance. It means that when government or state-owned enterprise or state-owned banks raise commercial bank, we can support using this guarantee. But credit guarantee can be offered to up to 20 years, and the use of proceeds is very flexible. For the last one, trade finance guarantee, it has the 1 year facility, and the use of proceeds should be related to the export and import activity. But here the threshold is relatively low. Now I can show some example which we supported in Uzbekistan. The first one is Sirdarya gas to power project. Here, led by the Aqua Power, and for this transaction, MIGA provided a guarantee to commercial lenders. So commercial lenders provided around 5 million euro loan to the project company, and the tenor was 18 years. Without this guarantee, commercial lenders cannot provide the longer and cheaper pricing. Second one is credit guarantee. We worked with the MBU here. This scheme is at the moment is very popular in Uzbekistan. Here we supported MBU to raise commercial financing here at Standard Chartered Bank for 10 years and 100 million loan. So I think using this money, MBU can provide the lending to the small, medium enterprise. Maybe I will stop here. Maybe later, if you have any question, I will provide further details. Thank you.
Perhaps we can just stay. Can you just have the last slide again? Can we have just the last one? Because I would like to go to Mr. Uzmanbekov just as a comment. MIGA and NBU, I think it was one of the first transactions you did together. And Mr. Uzmanbekov, please allow me to ask you, what was your experience when you first got in contact with MIGA and became familiar with, let's say, their programs? And where do you see the benefit of having established this collaboration with this multilateral agency?
Для нас опыт с МИГА, он был действительно очень...
For us, the experience with MIGA is very unique. First of all, I wanted to highlight that we have conducted a very serious work while the process of onboarding. We were supported by our partner, Standard Chartered Bank. We conducted boarding together. When we were choosing the proposals which were made by MIGA, we have stopped on this proposal on the MIGA coverage on the medium and small business. And we took into account the term, the tenor, and this line, 10-year line, is very rare in such directions, and such directions are offered by the MDB, such as the EBRD, as ABD. But we have done the first deal, and this product in the process of implementation and proposing to our clients is very popular, and we are not limiting our clients in their choice in the usage of the sectors. First of all, we want to support the medium and small-sized businesses to provide the long-term money for the development of their businesses, for creating the manufacturing capacity, and for the companies in the service sector. And as a representative of a bank that's using this line in practice, I can highlight that this is a very attractive product. And taking this opportunity that we have the representatives of the ECAs in this room, we wanted to get from our distinguished partners such products, such offers of covering, and the MIGA is the example of this. Thank you.
And I think this example really illustrates the impact these kind of financing structures can have. Also, if we look at the purpose of this loan, it was directed to SMEs, and it would have been much more complicated from an international lender's perspective to finance an SME with a smaller scale financing need on an individual basis. So extending a 10-year loan to an SME in Uzbekistan for an international bank, that would have been, let's say, overall from a process point of view, much too complex. And therefore, I think having the local banks and banks like the National Bank of Uzbekistan as an intermediary to kind of compile all these financing needs and then to take on one loan in a significant amount of 100 million and then to deploy the funds to the SMEs. I think that is really the practical way on bringing the funds to the smaller sized companies and allowing them also to participate in the growth of the country. And therefore, I think this is really one of the great examples on how, let's say, these kind of MDB DFI financings, but also the ECA finance can really also be beneficial, not only for the big projects, but also for the SMEs here in the country. But not to forget about BPI France, so I would like to continue, Pablo, with you. BPI France, you also describe Uzbekistan as a strategic and fast-growing market. You have also done business for quite some time in the country. So it would be great if you could also tell us what makes Uzbekistan so unique for BPI France and how has your pipeline developed over recent years and what is your offering here to the country? So we kind of need the slides for BPI France. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Catherine. So nice to meet you all. It's a pleasure. My name is Pablo Stargar. I'm deputy head for BPI France. So who is BPI France? What is BPI France? So we are the French public investment bank owned by the French states and the Caisse des dépôts et consignations. We are gathering different bodies. So we are the French sovereign fund. We are the French ECA, Export Credit Agency. We are also a bank. We also do export banking operations. We gather different activities. We do invest, we do advise, we do finance, and we do guarantee. Maybe just a few figures in front of you. We support and we have a portfolio of around 200,000 French companies. And I'm mentioning it because it's very important. As long as you really want to develop, for example, and foster economic relationship with French companies, we are also somehow a very good matchmaker. So able also to connect you with a French company. We inject every year around 70 billion euros into the French economy, mostly in France, but also abroad. And as you can see, a little bit less than half of our operations are covering international development projects. And why Uzbekistan? First of all, it's really a pleasure for us to be here. We're not only here today, we are often coming here, and we will come here even more frequently in the future. First of all, we think, as the French Public Investment Bank, that of course Uzbekistan is a very dynamic economy in Central Asia, but not only in Asia overall. We see also very significant investment needs, whether they are in infrastructures, in healthcare, in transportation, mobility, in construction. And we also see a very strong commitment to modernize the country, the economy with economic reforms, and a private sector also, a very growing private sector also development. And all of that is leading to also a growing need for long-term financing solutions, and we either for public and private sector, and we think we can be a very good also ally in this sector. And of course, there is a strong alignment also between the French priorities, economic priorities, and Uzbek priorities. So maybe just a few words about our presence in Uzbekistan. So we do not have your figures, Thomas, in the region. We have a little bit less than $500 million outstanding amounts of operation, around 400 million euros, mostly insurance, but also we do also finance operations. So an export bank. We have PPP projects also with the Ministry of Finance. We have also multiple credit buyers with private sector companies, and also ongoing talks. I will be brief about our solution because these are, let's say, common solution you can find with ECAs. But to make it simple, we have supplier credits, assignments tool, and buyer credits. And to make it even more simple, we can finance operation from 1 to 50 million euros and standalone, but we can also co-finance. And from 50 million to more than 100 million, we do co-financing, such as, for example, Commerzbank or commercial banks, whether they are German, French, Uzbek, or different other countries, whatever, as long as we have a good relationship. So we do like also to do co-financing operation. We do it a lot, and we are very also eager to do more co-financing operation in Uzbekistan. We are very much focusing on medium long term also, of course, financing. As an export bank, we are de facto also insured by ourselves, by BPI France Export Credit Agency. And we are also covering operation in Euro. We are open to work with private and public sector, no matter. We already have projects with both. And we are expecting French content for us is 20%. But as I was mentioning before, if you have French partners and you need financing and insurance guarantee, we are here. But if you do not have French partners and you want to benefit from also some financing, we can also help you doing the matchmaking. We do a lot of business meetings, whether here, locally. So for example, we can imagine bringing French companies to Uzbekistan so you can meet them, for example. Or we can also bring you to France, to Paris, or to our regions, because we have 50 offices in France, to meet also French companies and ecosystems. And maybe also slides. We also provide shopping line. So I didn't get into financial details, but so the idea is also to have more flexible, so to give you more flexibility as a buyer or borrower. We can provide you with a credit line of 20 million, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million euros. So you can use it over time. Generally, you have the 24 months, and you can use it for different projects. So we are no longer into one financing, one project. We can look deeper. So let's say you are from the public sector, or for example, an holding and having different activities in construction, in water, in energy, and you need different suppliers for different of your projects. Instead of doing very tough procurement job and going through very hard process with one financing, one project, we give you a single credit line that you can use for different of your projects. The only condition prerequisite is, of course, having French partners, French exporter. We will look between 20 and 30% of French content, but it allows you to have more flexibility and to give you also more it's more tailor-made solution. So these are things we are already developing a lot in Turkey, for example. We also have fruitful discussion in the region, and would be very happy also to elaborate more on that. So thank you very much.
Can we just keep the last slide? So I also would like to ask a further question to Pablo on the last slide. Can we just go back? All right, the shopping line. Yeah. So when at the beginning I mentioned that the ECAs they are there to or their primary objective is to promote trade out of, let's say, the home country, which is also seen, and I explained by Pablo, that the shopping line also requires to a certain extent French content. On the other hand, we learned from Jiong, from MIGA, that they are looking more into the project in the country as such, irrespective where, let's say, equipment might come from. Pablo, how would you distinguish between a shopping line from an ECA compared to the product offering of a multilateral like MIGA, looking more towards the project? And who are, let's say, the Uzbek counterparts for whom these kind of shopping lines could be relevant?
Yeah, thank you very much, Catherine, for the question. I would say that overall, as I mentioned, it's very much useful for big corporate, so mostly holding. That's how, let's say, for example, we have most of our shopping line in the financing sector, or also guarantee, because we did a shopping line of 3 billion euros or so as guarantee in Saudi Arabia, so in GCC country. But if I take the financing part, I think we will be, the main targets will be, for example, EPC or construction companies who have also very huge or development also projects in energy, in construction of, for example, stadiums or very different projects. So they will be big corporates who need to have a flexible tool, but also, as you mentioned, it could be also very much of the public sector. It could be, let's say, Minister of Finance that have different projects, for example, in Uzbekistan, in different regions, and not only one region, and would like to have more flexibility with a single tool. The difference with MIGA, we were, I mean, of course, for us, the big difference would be the cornerstone, which is the French suppliers, so the local contents. We do not see it as something negative, but on the opposite, for example, in Uzbekistan, we think it's also very much of. I think your mic, maybe, Catherine. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
We think it helps also to deepen also the bilateral cooperation. So we see, let's say, shopping line as an open door for us to do matchmaking with more French companies, to all of them also to discover Uzbek markets. So the biggest difference would be that it will be also a tool of, let's say, soft power cooperation, European cooperation, French, but also we cover also foreign contents. So of course it could also allow other companies, but we see it as a beautiful tool to make also French company part of the Uzbek ecosystem. So this might be also one of the big difference, and maybe something we can in shopping line also we can do refinancing of operation up to 20% of the whole shopping line. So if you are a company and you already, for example, had French partners, we can provide cash flow up to 20% if you already had French partners up to 30 months as a reachback. So it could be also something very useful.
So thank you very much. Perhaps that brings me immediately back to Thomas from Euler Hermes. Euler Hermes is also kind of offering a wide range of products, including the, let's say, classical tight buyer's credit, but also now offering a product called a shopping line. What would you see as, let's say, the major applications of those products currently needed in Uzbekistan? Where do you see the, let's say, demand mostly coming from? And what would you advise here to the audience on how to look at those financing structures?
Yes, thank you very much. I think, I'm not sure where the mic is. We need to be careful not to disturb you. So the question is very good, because I would like to go a bit back to the slides before, not opening the slides, but to the slide of Pablo on the classical ECA products, because what I observe in the last 10 years here in that country, the classical buyer credit is the product of the choice. When I look at the Uzbek market and the projects and the transactions we are seeing, for my personal pleasure, really, we see the transformation of Uzbek companies, like Uzbek banks, like the gentleman from MBU mentioned, that you get IFRS financial statements more and more in the corporate sector, and you can draw direct international lending into your growing Uzbek company. Then the buyer credit is the medium of choice. The shopping line product that we have developed as well last year is mainly applicable to really blue chip companies, and perhaps in Uzbekistan one day we will be able to discuss a shopping line offer as well. But I think for the majority of the audience here, my advice is look at the buyer credit offer. A buyer credit basically means you have one transaction involving a certain German content. I have not spoken about the eligibility question. I mean, what kind of projects is Hermes actually following? We do follow, of course, projects where there is a German exporter, being it a German OEM like Siemens Energy or Linde or someone else, or a German export packager who tries to bundle certain imports that you would like to take from Germany and from others, and then if there is a certain threshold, in our case it's not 20%, it's 50%, we require a strong German footprint, because you need to be aware, maybe it's boring to you, but it's not boring to the German taxpayer. We are using public funds for this, and our taxpayers, of course, want to see the benefit that German jobs are preserved and German relations to Uzbekistan are strengthened. So here we are looking really into the German content. The second application and the product you mentioned is probably the supplier credit, a thing that is applicable to even smaller transactions. So if you see a German exporter who would be having their own balance sheet to provide maybe extended payment terms of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then this kind of financing may help you as well. And here I think I will stop. I mean, not forget, difference to BPI France, Euler Hermes also offers short-term trade credit. So if you have continuous relationships to German companies who supply to maybe chemicals, other short-term traded goods, there is a scheme in our product portfolio where we can support that. That you saw, you remember my 2.7 billion, and then the chart, that this is the dark blue portion of our exposure in Uzbekistan. Maybe one more sentence on why we are actually here and why it is so important. The challenges, I mean, the main challenge does not come from the financing, in my personal opinion. The main challenge comes from the East in terms of Chinese competition. And to be very fair, I was here some years ago, yesterday, I was really overwhelmed when I looked at the streets, seeing all the Chinese brands on the streets. As a German, with the tradition of a car-making giant, and I know I don't want to discuss what is now better, Chinese cars or German cars, but just imagining, that this has changed so significantly from Volkswagens and maybe Opels and of course Mercedes and BMW to BYDs and other Chinese brands. I am aware how important it is that we have competitive offers for the commercial contracts, but also then support that by competitive financing. And this is what I always, after foreign trips, and in Uzbekistan it is now reiterated, take home as the main challenge, Katrin, because you said, what is the key challenge? We are challenged by Uzbek companies saying, okay guys, there is a German partner we would like to work with. The price difference is maybe 30%. The German is 30% more expensive, sometimes even more. Can you offset some of this price difference on the commercial side by a more attractive financing offer? And I think, yes, we can to some extent, because what Commerzbank and other banks can provide may be cheaper, in euro terms for sure, cheaper than what a Chinese bank would be able to provide. I know they have competitive financing as well. We are working very hard, BPI France and others in the OECD, to match what they do. And I'm not blaming anyone, because China is a growing industrial power nation. They have to take their role. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against Chinese imports to Uzbekistan, but what I'm against is that they take over the entire market without being able to defend ourselves, to retain what is actually worthwhile having German technology, French technology, Italian technology in the market. And this is why I'm here, and we are also trying to be very energetic when it comes to the partnership to Uzbek companies who say, oh look, yesterday I had a gentleman sitting in front of me say, look, I'm aware that I could buy a cheaper Chinese option. Perhaps the Chinese is not as good as the German one, but I would still choose. But now, if you can move with your financing offer a little bit, that may help to convince my shareholder, my board, to basically stick to the German equipment and then to the German financing. And this is where I'm getting energetic all the time in the B2B conversations I'm having here. And this is, I think, also the main challenge in not only Uzbekistan, but of course also in Uzbekistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Pablo, and I think what both of you could illustrate is that ECAs have solutions along the value chain and for different phases in a project, being it for the construction phase, being it for, let's say, a specific project needed financing for a specific equipment import, but then also solutions for someone who on a regular basis buys French, German, or let's say from other countries by way of now introducing these kind of shopping line scheme, the more untied, so not project-tied financing schemes. So there's a lot of optionality, a great product offering, and sometimes that seems like, oh, that is very complex. When do I use what kind of product offering does an ECA have? And we have seen that the French product offering to some extent is equal to the Germans, but to the other extent there are also differences in it. And this is when I would say a bank needs to come in. This is, let's say, our service we are providing to Uzbek companies, but also to all our corresponding banking relationships, that banks who have a dedicated ECA team, that we are screening these programs, that we are looking into those programs, trying to find out the differences, and then to come up with a, let's say, suitable proposal for you on our client side, and in order to make it for you much easier to finally benefit from all the great product offerings the ECAs and the MDBs can offer here. So therefore it's an invitation to approach the international banks, helping you in kind of finding the way through that jungle. Coming back to Jin Yong, on the multilateral side, you have said, or you have explained that you have, for example, together with NBU, you have looked into their plans on better, let's say, service their SMEs and to provide a solution for SME financing. Where do you see, let's say, for the upcoming year, the upcoming next years, in the development of the country, further applications of your product suite to the needs of your Uzbek counterparts?
Thank you for that question. Here in Uzbekistan, for many international financial, I think the biggest bottleneck to provide financing is just, the availability of the sovereign guarantee. Here, from the MIGA's end, due to their upgrade of a sovereign rating in this country, it turns out that the MIGA can offer our guarantee to some of state-owned enterprise and the state-owned banks without the sovereign guarantee. Basically, what we discussed with the government is that we understand that here there are huge financing needs, but also from the Minister of Finance perspective, they also have to, consider, the fiscal situation. So MIGA can help on this matter. For some SOE who are eligible for our credit enhanced guarantee product without the sovereign guarantee, we are currently in discussion. Previously, we provided this guarantee to MBU, and we are at the moment we are also in discussion with several state-owned banks. But going forward, we expect to see the more business opportunity with the real sector state-owned enterprise across energy, transport, or any types of state-owned enterprise. that's what we are expecting in the near future.
Thank you very much, Ji-Yong. Mr. Uzmanbekov, having heard what the product offering of the ECAs are, what MIGA's aspirations are going forward, now coming back to NBU's perspective, how has your own portfolio and cooperation with the MDBs and ECAs and international lenders developed over the last years? And where do you see, let's say, or what is your choice when you think of financing the upcoming projects NBU is involved? How would you kind of choose an ECA and MDB to become your partner in arranging a financing for the important project NBU is looking at?
As I have already mentioned, we have portfolio, and in our portfolio we have the cooperation with almost every export credit agencies. In order to answer this question, we need to explain the role of the National Bank in the economy of the Republic of Uzbekistan. First of all, I want to mention that the NBU was established in 1991, and the main mission was as the main financial object of the government of Uzbekistan in involving the credit lines from the international financial institutions. And in order to get the credit lines, it's usually supported at the primary level. Its coverage by the export credit agencies. Considering the country's context, we see that when we are choosing the export credit agency, we are considering the deal where this technology is purchased, where's the main supplier or the contractor, which is a supplier for our client. Depending on this, we choose the main partner who will be supporting this deal, and we consider the different mixed coverage of the ECAs, and the technological equipment can be purchased, supplied from different countries. And here we see that for the last 2-3 years, the ECAs are becoming more flexible. They are offering the mixed solutions. Not, for example, it's not only by one company, but by Hermes and by other agency as well. First of all, in order to choose the ECA, we consider the country's context. These are the one of the main requirements, as I already mentioned by my colleagues as well. In 2024, the onboarding with MIGA and the first deal was very important within the context that the MIGA provides the independence from the country's context. We can structurize the deals in different sectors, in different lines. And the first deal that we have made was very significant, and we have chosen not depending on product. We have done it on the development of the sector of the SMEs. And the deal that we have conducted for the 10-year, and the main thing is not about the term. It's relevant for us, for the SME sector, and it was important for us. Currently, we have the projects in the transport sector, construction sector, the construction of the fee-based roads, which was announced by our president, Tashkent-Samarkand route. And here, we are structuring the deals with our partners, and we see that the participation of MIGA and the support of MIGA will be very useful for us. And we are remembering that our onboarding was very on time, and we can use your coverage right now. And the colleagues have mentioned, yes, we have the competition with the Chinese banks, with the Chinese financing, but this is an open market. There's a competition, and for us, first of all, for banks, it's good because we have the broad range of choice, not only in the expert credit agencies coverage, but in the sources of financing as well. And the policy of the National Bank is on diversification of the sources of funding. Traditionally, we have been working with the European banks. Currently, in our portfolio, we have proportion of the source of financing. It's changing. We are using the funding from Chinese banks. We are increasing the funding from the Middle East. If we consider our bonds in 2021, the main holders of our bonds were the European banks. The asset management, currently we see that in 2024, and the share of the purchase of our bonds is from the countries of the Middle East, and for us it's very good. And of course we see that the competition is increasing, and we see from the point of view of our European partners, the expert credit agencies, that they are becoming more flexible, they are meeting our needs. And currently we have the opportunity to structurize the deal with them. For example, if previously we were getting the ready product, currently we are creating this product together with our partners, structurizing it with the expert credit agencies, and it's a good sign for us. And I want to mention that the reforms which were announced, it's ongoing, and we have the need in long-term financing, structuring the huge deals, and our partners from the expert credit agencies will be more flexible and will be meeting our needs within the country context, within the funding, as well as the price parameters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thomas, I would like to come back to you, because at the beginning I said we want to make it as practical as possible. Can you perhaps elaborate a little bit on, let's say, the process, on what is needed to, let's say, get the ECA cover in place, and not only, let's say, from a procedural point of view within Euler Hermes, but also the requirements you have towards, let's say, the Uzbek counterparts, what is needed from their side, what would be beneficial to have right from the beginning, to smoothen the process as much as possible?
Oh yes, that is fantastic. If you would like to create a workshop like what is a typical good ECA application that we can process in 3 weeks, let's really face it. What would it be? I mean, if you are a corporate, you have a German contract, okay, we assume this is done. We now look at the IFRS financial statements. If you have them, fantastic. If you don't have them and the transaction is small, up to 10 million, I'm saying this on this panel, I think official the number is 5 million, but I have heard from Berlin, from my board, that 10 million they would be able to look at. We would look at Uzbek standards as well. So maybe one thing you have, if you have a transaction bigger than 10 million, probably we will stick to the IFRS requirement. Okay, so these financial standards audited, not necessarily by a big four, it can be a local auditing firm as well. So this is maybe the first thing. If your investment exceeds 50% of your equity, so you calculate, you have a 20 million transaction and your equity, euro, we're talking euro, 20 million euro transaction, and it's maybe you have only 20 million euro of equity in your balance sheet, crossly, we need to look at some forecast of your cash flow. What do you want to achieve with this project? Don't mix it with project finance. This is not the detailed due diligence for a 20 million transaction. You don't be afraid. The bank will help you in getting the details of this kind of forecast or this calculation. The third thing, if you have an environmentally sensitive project, please consult. I mean, if you get afraid of saying, oh, MIGA and the ECAs, they will put all these red tape on environmental review on your table, don't get us wrong. We will not. If you have a good Uzbek approval process for your project, most likely this will be useful to translate this into English language, at least, because we need to read it and to understand it. And then we do understand with our technical people in the ECA, and the banks have technical people as well, to say if it's a mid project in terms of environmental impact, we can process probably on a number of detailed questions of what is the wastewater, waste management, pollution level, etc. So for a 20 million textile machine project, I invent something now, but it has some reality. Probably the environmental questionnaire would be very quick to reply to. And that's, I think, about it. Here we go. Yeah, we have the German contract with the German content. We have the IFRS financial statements. We do have a forecast if your project is challenging in terms of the volume compared to the current size of your company, because you have an extensive growth plan. And you do have basic facts on the environmental impact ready. I think we can manage to do this in a quite quick turnover.
Pablo, I think you... or I would assume you would echo what Thomas was saying. Would you like to add something or also give the audience kind of an idea of a realistic timeline to get such an ECA financing up to speed?
Yes, thank you very much, Catherine. Indeed, I totally echo also with what Thomas said, and it really depends on the project, but I think we can expect it. You know, people think sometimes that ECA, especially, you know, as European ECA, we can be slow, but what we've been proven, I think, at Hermes, SACE, VPI France, is we can be very quick in terms of realization of projects if we have very good counterparts also. And typically, we saw projects, ongoing projects, dispersing also or covering operation after 6 months or 9 months after first discussion, depending on also on the scale of the project, and maybe echoing also what Thomas said before. So. It's all very important for us taking, you know, we have German content, French content, and that goes beyond also the ECA part, and especially, for example, in Uzbekistan is why we want also to have more cooperation with Germany, with France also, because we think there is another way in Uzbekistan, not only Chinese, Russian or neighboring way, but we think also we want to commit in the long term, and that's also why ECA were created also is because we want very long mutual beneficial partnership. We want to be fast with Uzbekistan. We want to bring you also our expertise and also get your expertise, because we really think it's a deal this situation. Of course, we promote our exports, but we know at some point Uzbekistan will develop and is already developing a lot to also bring us also their expertise in their export. So see us as a really a right hand for your developments, and see also our companies as tools for you to develop in beneficial mutual ways, and also in let's say very win-win situation way. We will commit for the long term, and ECA are here to support you for the long term, also long standing term.
Katrin, thank you. If you allow, I forgot one thing, 4 things you want to have. Now you wanted to ask me perhaps how long will it take, because Pablo answered. For us, it's even more ambitious than you mentioned, and I think you can be faster as well than 6 months. Because my statement is, if we have a proven project like I mentioned, 6 weeks is our ambition to achieve. Currently, and now I can give reality to this, currently the average of all transactions we do, and it's about 800 transactions the German ECA processes, not from Uzbekistan but globally. The average is now 70 days. And I know this because my government and my leadership pushes me all the time, and also the customers, of course, to become faster. 70 days is already a bit too long for the smallish kind of transaction in a standard way. But please take it. It's a reality, 70 days. Yeah, that is already a good, when you compare it to some other financial institutions, I believe we can be proud to say ECA financing is maybe adding some red tape to your transaction, but it can be very fast. Thank you for giving me the word again.
So now we have talked a little bit of what, let's say, each partner here at the panel can contribute. But what about cooperation? So, Jeong, I would like to give the word to you. How can, let's say, all these instruments be combined to even give more benefit back to a country like Uzbekistan if we make use of MIGA being combined with Euler Hermes, the French ECA or other ECA? How can that work?
Firstly, as I mentioned in the beginning, now the country needs huge financing needs. So now cheap concessional financing is not enough at the moment. So the country needs to consider diversification of financing and also consider bring international financing into the country. From this point, I think the ECA and the MIGA and the commercial finance, international commercial banks law is very important. In terms of the collaboration between the ECA and the MIGA, I think MIGA's role is to complement ECA financing. As these two gentlemen mentioned, in traditional, with the traditional the ECA financing is restricted to the content, export amount. Then MIGA can complement. There is the funding gap which ECA cannot finance because ECA financing, the amount is subject to the export amount. Then definitely there is some local content which we cannot be covered. From the MIGA's end, the local content, export content, it does not matter. I think the MIGA can cover the all the portion, but here in many cases, ECA financing is very competitive. So if there is any funding gap, MIGA can step in and we can offer overall more competitive financing to the company and to the government.
Thank you very much. So before we come into the last round of questions, I would open here the scene to all of you. Do you have questions here from the audience to the panelists? If yes, there is now time to do so. Are there any questions? Yeah, please. Do we have a mic? Otherwise, you may want to speak up a bit louder than we manage it without.
Thank you very much. I am from Uzbekistan, and I have a question for Mr.
Thank you. Here, as I mentioned, we have three categories of project. And the second, credit guarantee and the trade finance guarantee. This one is more relevant to the government or state-owned enterprise when they borrow the money from the commercial bank. The reason is that MIGA can only support sovereign and the state-owned enterprise because MIGA can basically MIGA can support member country because the Uzbekistan government is our shareholder in the World Bank Group, and we only cover political risk. It means that we only cover the risk of inaction of action of the government or state-owned enterprise. So it means that in this example, if the government or state enterprise do not pay to the International Commercial Bank, then we can step in. But under our convention, let's say if you big corporate borrow International Commercial Bank, in this case, MIGA cannot support. However, for the first product, we call the political guarantee. When corporate borrow money from the international bank using our political risk insurance, then it's still valid. And also, when big corporate can establish a special purpose company to implement a separate project in project finance scheme, we also can support big corporates' equity amount as well as international debt for the transaction.
Any further questions from the audience to the panelists? All right, that's not the case. Yeah, so Mr. Uzmanbekov, to round up, let's say, the session for today, looking ahead for the next year, the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see NBU's main strategic priorities here to further strengthen your role in supporting Uzbekistan's growth? And on top of that, what would be your wish list to agencies like Euler Hermes, BPI, MIGA, to help to support you in implementing your strategic priorities?
Конечно,
It goes without saying that our main mission and role is to act as a major government financial actor agency to attract financing to major infrastructure projects. Currently, we're coping with this role, and I hope in future NBU will continue to successfully implement this role with the help of Western partners, ECAs, etc. And at present, Uzbekistan is enjoying very dynamic transformation in across all the sectors, in the real economy sector, in the financial sector, and in other sector. The reforms are not possible without financing of all the changes and transformations, and therefore we are in need of financial assets and funds. Therefore, my wish list is as follows. We see that you are getting more flexible, and of course there is a competition in place and a market demand alongside with improvement of Uzbekistan's economic and macro indicators. However, I would like to also wish you to structure projects in more flexible manner. You mentioned shopping line, and it's very attractive. In 24, we used from OECD, Austrian Export Credit Agency, a shopping line, and that shopping line helped us to structure. You know, it's very difficult to structure for the specific project from 4 to 6 months. And in this case, we been able to, on the package basis, to refinance already completed projects from a specific ECA. So I think it's very relevant for financing of SMEs. We are timely implementing projects, and then we go to ACAs and refinance their portfolio. So it's a very sustainable source of funding for such projects. And it would be good to have more of such projects and more flexible projects. So your key role, mission is support your local producers and exporters. You mentioned many ACAs. You have quite large portfolios, and it means that with your assistance, we've established many manufacturing facilities here in the real sector. Uzbekistan is dynamically developing and it's expanding its export potential from year to year. And here I would like to mention several anchor industries like textile, food sector. We are entering global markets with the sectors. Our textile producers are purchasing franchises of German companies. We supply our fresh fruit and vegetables to Germany, to Great Britain, and other European countries. And here we have some sort of a cash gap. Foreign Western buyers, they are contracted on delay payment terms, and therefore we have a sort of gap. And local banks can't undertake risks of foreign buyers. And it would be great if, with your help, we'll be able to cover a product which could be capable of covering our risks associated with your buyers. That product will be in greatest demand. Our exporters would be able to ship our products, and we could be able to factor and cover the risks on Western buyers with your ACAs, so it will be a very good solution. Of course, we'll be closely cooperating with you, and on behalf of the NBU, I think it will be the largest bank in Uzbekistan in future, continuing to support its major mission of helping governments in implementing major projects. Thank you.
Coming to an end of this session, and I hope that we could have shown that there is a lot of product offering available coming from ECAs, coming from MDBs like MEGA, which can be of help and which will also continuously support the growth aspirations here in the country. On the other hand, we have heard from Mr. Uzmanbekov that, there is even more required, and this is, I think, the homework for the ECAs and the MDBs, but also for us as international banks, to find solutions to it and to help grow the economy as they want it to grow. So there's a lot to be done. A lot has been achieved. There's a lot more to be done. And I think we're all looking forward to it. And also seeing you again next year at the same forum. And then perhaps we can already talk about the progress we made over the last year. So thank you very much for your attendance and the time. And we are here for questions, if any, but you also can contact us afterwards. We are happy to share our contacts here. Thank you very much for being here with us.